fellow Whovians and fellow subscribers all around the world. Welcome to my latest Doctor Who review, where today I review The Talons of Weng-Chiang, which is the 6th and final story in Season 14 of Doctor Who, which is Tom Baker's 3rd season. Okay, so the basic plot of this story is quite a big plot, so you'll have to bear with me. The 4th Doctor brings Leela to Victorian London to see how her ancestors lived, but is rapidly drawn into a fiendish plot involving Chinese tongs, disappearing women, an oriental stage magician with uncanny powers, and a murderous ventriloquist's dummy, and giant rats in the sewers. A dozen women are missing, believed dead. The murder of a cab driver married to one of the missing women causes the Doctor and Leela to encounter a police pathologist, Professor Lightfoot, and a member of the Chinese Tong which carried out the murder. The latter leads the Doctor to become suspicious of Lee Sen-Chang, a police interpreter who is also a stage magician, appearing twice nightly at the Palace Theatre. Chang is secretly the henchman of Magnus Greel, a 51st century war criminal, masquerading as the Chinese god Weng-Chiang. Greel fled through time to escape his enemies and is searching for his lost time cabinet, which by chance has fallen into the possession of Lightfoot. Theatre owner Henry Gordon Jago assists the Doctor in his investigation of Chang's vanishing lady illusion, by which the women are being kidnapped and ultimately murdered to feed Weng-Chiang. The plot casts Weng-Chiang in the role of the Phantom of the Opera, haunting the cellars of the Palace Theatre, his bodily decay fended off by extracting the life energy of the victims Chang brings him. The Doctor must track him down and find the time cabinet first, because any further use of it will cause a catastrophe. It uses Sigma energy, and the Sigma experiments lead only to disaster. Sorry, that was a long plot synopsis. It was more of a summary than a synopsis, but I'm reading it off the Doctor Who wiki page, and I just always read the synopsises of the stories, and that one is the longest synopsis I've read so far. Whew. Okay, so The Talons of Weng-Chiang. This is a very popular Doctor Who story. Everyone loves this story. Everyone raves about this story. And you want to know what I think? I think this story's overrated. I'm sorry. I know that's going to disappoint a lot of people, but I'm just giving my honest opinion. I don't sugarcoat things on my channel, as I've said before. I really do like the story, though. Don't get me wrong. It's a really great, thrilling Doctor Who story. I just think it's a tiny bit overrated. I would not call this story a masterpiece. It's really good, but it's not perfect. For me, like, my main complaint is that the story is slow. There are elements of the story which I think are a bit slow. Perhaps making it 5 parts might have been a bit better, because it is a 6-part story. It does drag on a bit at points, and I think it would have been nice to tighten up the pacing a bit. But for the most part, it does flow consistently well. It's just, it's mainly in like part 5, I think. There's a lot of talking. There's quite a lot of talking in this story, and it does start to drag at points for me. I did find it getting a bit long. But other than that, it's a really good story. I like the idea of the kind of Chinese elements to the story, like introducing that sort of new culture into the show. I really like that. And the character of Chang is a really good character. He's kind of torn, because through most of the story he's serving his master, but his master doesn't really care about him or doesn't want him after a while, so he's left without much purpose. But yeah, the guy that plays Chang is not actually a Chinese man. His name is John Bennett, and they've done some makeup on him, and he puts on a Chinese accent for the role. I can understand if some people may find this a bit racist, but back in the day, that was just the way they did it, and I'm afraid you're either going to have to accept it or you're not. It's just one of those things. The accent can be a little bit forced. He tends to overemphasize this. Every single line, like this, like he really just enunciates a bit too much. And I apologise if that little impression offended anyone. It wasn't my intention. But he's a good character, and I like the scene in the theatre when he's demonstrating with the ladies lying on the air. Basically, he's doing all his magical routines and stuff. And then there's the scene when he gets the Doctor involved, and the Doctor walks out the back of the of the time box, which is funny. He's a good character. I like his involvement in the story, and his costume is really good. And actually, the costumes for this story are very good. all of the sort of Oriental Chinese costumes are really good, and they serve this story very well. But actually, the story's set in Victorian London, which is kind of interesting. And this is a very darkly lit story. Particularly the first few parts, first half of the story, it's just set at nighttime, and it's very dark and it's very creepy. There's a scene when the Doctor and Leela go into the sewers and they see a giant rat, and that's pretty creepy. So this story definitely has the scare factor. I'll give it that. It has the scare factor. And it really does feel like, bloody hell. I mean, it really does feel like Philip Hinchcliffe, for his last story, wanted the audience to feel genuinely terrified. So they did a great job with that. Although the rats don't feature a huge amount in the story, but it's an extra thing to scare the audience. Chiang, played by Michael Spice, he's good. He kind of overacts a little bit towards the end in part 6 when he's confronting the Doctor and the others. He does tend to overact a little bit, and it can be a bit hammy, but he's still pretty good, and I still like his character very much. I like the character of Jago, played by Christopher Benjamin. I believe this actor did return to the show in The Unicorn and the Wasp with David Tennant. If I'm wrong, then do correct me, but I believe he did. I mean, it sounds like the same guy, and he looks like the same guy. In that story, I think he plays the old man in the wheelchair in The Unicorn and the Wasp. But, yeah, that's interesting. Professor Lightfoot, played by Trevor Baxter. He's good. I like his role in the story. There's a particularly great moment where he's talking to Leela, Leela obviously comes from a tribe, and she doesn't understand table manners or decorum, should we say. So when she's taken to his house to eat, she literally picks up a giant chicken and just like munches into it. She doesn't really understand table manners. She's not trying to be disrespectful. She just doesn't understand, and it's kind of amusing to see that. And they have a nice relationship. And the very last scene, he's saying to her, he's trying to teach her how to ask for cups of tea and stuff, and she's getting confused by that. So that's kind of amusing. I like that. Mr. Sin, who is played by Deep Roy, who's this little puppet, this little ventriloquist dummy. Sorry, that is used in the magic show. But he's very creepy. I think he's probably the creepiest character in the story, actually. And there's a good sequence at the end where Leela's trying to shoot him. She's got a little revolver on her, and that was pretty cool. But Deep Roy does a good job, and very scary character. He's a very scary character. If you're not a fan of those ventriloquist dummies, you may be terrified watching this story. So just be aware. There's not many other characters in the story. I think there's an Irish man called Casey. He sadly dies. He's someone who works in the theatre. He's very good. Buller, played by Alan Butler, is also good. The police sergeant, he's very good. Obviously, Tom Baker as the Doctor, it goes without saying, he's great, and he delivers a superb performance. He's wearing a different costume this time. He's actually wearing a sort of almost like a Sherlock Holmes kind of outfit, which is interesting, and he kind of takes on more of a detective role because he's helping the police in a way, which is nice. And obviously, Leela is also wearing a similar costume, obviously, for she's wearing a dress, which I think will be the one and only time we'll ever see her do this. So that's kind of interesting. I think that's all the characters. The effects for the story are pretty good. There's a lot of practical effects as well, but all of the magical like effects. There's a lot of flash and bangs, like because when they're in the theater, there's a lot of flashing. Not in that sense, like flash effects, special effects in the theater, which is good. And the story is definitely scary, and it's very action-packed. And there's a great scene when Leela is being attacked by Weng-Chiang, and she pulls the mask off, and we see his face disfigured because he's trying to repair his body a bit, which is an interesting story. For most of the story, he is masked, which is kind of cool. Yeah, again, it's just for me the pacing of the story just dragged a bit. It could have been 5 parts. I think 6 was stretching it a bit too long, but the script is very good. Robert Holmes has written a very compelling script, and it's very scary. And I really like the production design as well. The attention to detail is brilliant. I don't know which theatre they went to or if they built the theatre set, but the theatre looks cool. And the director David Maloney, yeah, he did a good job. I'll give him that. But I just don't know if this, for me, is as amazing as everyone says. It's a really good story, and I guess I can kind of see why people have affection for it, but I just think the pacing kind of took me out of it a little bit. It's, you know, annoying, but there we go. So that's kind of it. I don't have much else to say about it. It's a very scary Doctor Who story and a good way to end the season. So I will score the Talons of Weng-Chiang a very strong 9 out of 10. And of course, it being the end of a season, it is now time to do a mini ranking. Woo! As normal. I always look forward to these when I get to do the mini rankings. That's fun. Once again, just a personal list, my own personal preference. I'm not going to give extended thoughts on each story like I would normally do on a ranking video. I'm simply just going to list all the stories in this season, all 6 of them, and how I would rank them from worst to best. It's just my opinion. If you disagree, it's fine. Just don't be a dick. You know, be nice. Be nice in the comments. Otherwise, I will remove your comments. You have been warned. Okay. And also, leave me your lists down below. I'd love to compare our rankings for these... oh shit, it's raining. I'd love to compare our lists down below and talk about the season as a whole. Okay, so... Number 6 is going to be The Mask of the Mandragora. It's alright, but it didn't grab me as much as the others. Number 5, The Face of Evil. Number 4, The Hand of Fear. Great exit from Sarah Jane. It's a shame I have to put it down this low, but, you know, it's still a great exit for Sarah. Number 3, The Talons of Weng-Chiang. Number 2, The Robots of Death. And you knew this was going to be number 1. Number 1 is The Deadly Assassin. That was such a great story. So there we go. That's my review of the Talons of Weng-Chiang and my mini ranking of season 14. So stay tuned next time when we go into season 15 and we talk about The Horror of Fang Rock, which I know is regarded as a classic. So that will be interesting. Tom Baker's 4th season already. Wow, we're nearly halfway through. Well, I'm nearly halfway through reviewing Tom Baker's era. That's insane. 7 seasons, 3 down, 4 to go. Woo! Well, when in lockdown, what else can you do? There's nothing else to do. And I've got the time, so I may as well do it. But anyway, thank you all for watching this review, and please leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think, and thanks also for listing your rankings. And also stay tuned next time when I review The Horror of Fang Rock. So until then, I'm Mr. Tarnus 11. See you soon.